It's 13th of September 2020, 12:25 at night. And what I'm recording right now is not planned. It's unscripted and it's impromptu. There is no particular objective of recording this, except that I feel there's a need of expressing myself and sharing my thoughts more effectively than with anyone else but myself. There have been really interesting thoughts come into my mind in the last few days. As I'd like to call it, maybe I was high on emotions. Basically, I was feeling things at an intensity that it was meddling with my idea of reality. You know, when you're so high on emotions, when you're feeling so intensely that these emotions becomes like drugs, and they influence how you see things or how you behave in general. I like to believe that I am a rational person. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not, but I'd like to believe that because I want to be that and I struggle to be that. I was consciously aware that my emotions are coming in the way of my rationality, and I was also consciously aware that I'm not able to rationalize those emotions. The interesting thoughts that I'm talking about that have been coming to my mind in the last few days surround around this arena of emotions only. What I particularly experienced was an insecurity. It's difficult to comprehend it and rather difficult to explain it. It's how do I put my experience in words, but it felt like the world is running down on me. It felt like things going to end. There was no particular reason for that. Of course, there were reasons. It's not appropriate to say that there was no particular reason for that. But the reasons were, well, it's safe to say that I was high on emotions. I was getting certain kind of stimuluses in my life. I was getting certain kind of information into my system which I was not able to rationally process because I guess I was mentally tired, and in my inability to rationally process that information, I got anxious. That's the problem with emotions, I guess. We see that feeling, what we feel when we experience different things, we see, we hear, we smell, we feel, we taste, and these are the five senses through which we get different kind of stimuli, and a combination of that, an accumulation of these different types of information from different senses, when we accumulate it, we call it one experience. That one experience is being transmitted into us in the form of electrical impulse that our brain is interpreting. Now, the thing is that how does our body react to these experiences? Experiences are real time. Experiences are happening right now. You're experiencing something, I am experiencing something. Processing those experiences take time, but you consciously processing that experience takes time, but your body generating emotions with regard to that experience takes lesser time. what I experience, I take time to develop a rational thought on that. But I don't take much time to feel something about that. This in turn tells me that the mechanism which is making me feel things is somewhat not in control of me. Somewhat I cannot control it per se. The mechanism that is triggering emotions, making me feel things, I am definitely not in control of it. This brings me to the thought that I read in a book of communication once, which was called Automaticism. The idea was that our body learns processes, and those processes run sort of like the background processes of our computer. They don't require to be in our conscious mind, they just run on their own, like autopilot. I guess this process of how our brain is processing that information, in turn generating emotions, we are not consciously aware of it. But what we do know about this process is that it what we do know about this process is that it relates to survival, because of course that's the ultimate, not the ultimate purpose, but that's the ultimate prerequisite of life. Anything that is programmed within us and that we are not aware of, anything that life has been passing on from generation to generation across millenniums, might not be life furthering in different contexts, but it is aimed at least at furthering life. This process of processing information and generating emotions, those emotions that our body generates is an indication to our mind that there is something wrong. There's something wrong in that we need to do something. We cannot say that a rational human being is a one that doesn't feel anything. A human being that doesn't feel anything is anything but rational. What we can say instead, that a rational human being is a person that rationally processes those information and tries to understand what the body is saying and why is it saying that. You see, when sort of, I don't know what's the validity of this or what extent is this possible, but I believe when we understand our own biology, when we understand how our own body functions, when we understand what information came inside our body and how it was processed within our body to generate the emotion that we are feeling, when we understand that entire process, that's when we understand the context of the emotion that we are feeling. Between the new information entering our mind and between and the emotion we are feeling, between these two components, the information and the mind, are past experiences, maybe past experiences, or let's say some genetic cues. There's a lot in between, which sets the parameters of how that new information will be processed. Well, I believe that Rationality lies in paying attention to the core information that came at you, to the core stimuli that came at you, understanding what is the context of that stimuli in terms of your body and mind. Biologically, what's the context? Socially, what's the context? Personally, what's the context of it? In all these three terms, and while contextualizing it, why did that stimuli lead the body to producing the emotions that you're feeling? When we truly understand this process, when we truly consciously actually process this information, when we become conscious of this process, is when what we will be doing what Ambedkar expected us to do, that is cultivating our mind.